Hello everyone. This video is on the Knewton Alta assignment for section 2.5 part 2 called Solve Linear Equations with Decimals. So in this video I'm going to be going over a preview version of this assignment. So I hope you understand that the questions I see in this video may not be the same questions that you see when you're working on the assignment yourself. But the objectives are all the same and the structure is similar. So I'm hoping that watching me do these here helps you in some way when you work on the assignment on your own. Alright, so on your assignment page you should be seeing the title, the mastery bar, telling you how far along you've gotten, the objectives. It looks like there are 2 objectives for this particular assignment. Under the current objective there should be a question related to that objective. And then at the bottom of each question, you should be seeing a feedback button, which you can send feedback to Knewton if you wish. You will not have this instructor cheat button. This is for instructors only. But you will have the more instruction button. If you're struggling with a topic or a particular question, click on more instruction and you'll be taken to a page with some reading or videos or both that you can read and study, and then you'll be given questions related to that instruction, related to that topic, and you can answering those questions correctly will progress you through the assignment. So it's a good tool. The first objective I'm looking at is solve an equation involving decimals by clearing the decimals. So clearing the decimals is very similar to eliminating fractions. If you recall section 2.5 part 1, we cleared fractions or eliminated fractions from an equation by multiplying both sides by some number. Now that number was the least common denominator. Here, the number we multiply both sides by will be some power of 10. So either 10 or 100 or 1,000, 10,000, whatever. 1 followed by a bunch of zeros. And I'm hoping that you recall from some previous study that when you multiply by a power of 10, that moves the decimal point on a number to the right the same number of places as there are zeros in that power of 10. Right, so if you multiply by 10, there's only 1 0 in 10. That moves all the decimal places to the right one place. If you multiply by 100, it moves the decimal point to the right 2 places. If you multiply by 1,000, it moves it to the right 3 places, and so on. And that's really all you're going to need to know to be able to do these. Right, so I'm going to write out this first equation and talk about what we need to do to clear decimals. Alright, so this first equation we're asked to solve for s, right, the variable s. We have negative 2.82 times s, right, that's 2 and 82 hundredths. Then after that, plus 2 equals, and then on the other side, negative 0.05, which is 5 hundredths, right, that's the hundredths place, times s, minus 0.77, right, that's 77 hundredths. Right, so when they talk about clearing decimals, means you're going to be multiplying both sides, every single term, by some power of 10 in order to move all the decimal points to the right, enough places so that there will, be nothing but integers as coefficients. There won't be any fractions anymore, any decimals anymore. So you're going to be multiplying both sides by a power of 10. Right, so again, either 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or so, or whatever. Right. Now, in order to figure out what number you should be multiplying by to get rid of the decimals, just think of how many places the decimal point would have to move to make the number an integer. So like this negative 2.82, the decimal point would have to move to the right 2 places. Here, this is already an integer. Here, 2 places. Here, 2 places. And then just whatever the largest number of those is, that's the power you need to multiply by. 10 to the 2, 10 squared, or 100. Alright, so to clear the decimals here, we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 100. So times 100. And then this entire side times 100, right? And again, this is going to require distribution, the distributive property, right? There are multiple terms on both sides. So, every single term is getting multiplied by 100. And again, what that's going to do is it's going to move the decimal point to the right 2 places for every number. So negative 2.82, times 100 would be negative 282. And then you still have the times s, right? Plus, then 2 times 100, again, you just move it to the right 2 places, add 2 zeros, this is 200. Equals negative 0.05 times 100 would just be negative 5, right? Move the decimal to the right 2 places, negative 5s. And then minus, 0.77 times 100, right 2 places, is just 77. And you see now, after multiplying everything by 100, I now have an equation without decimals. There are all the coefficients, all the numbers are integers. And then we work through the way we normally would. Add and subtract to get all the terms with the variable on one side, terms without the variable on the other, and then some sort of multiplication or division to get the variable alone to find your solution. So again, if I want all the variables on the left side, I'd add 5s to both sides. And then I'd want to get rid of this 200, so subtract 200. That way all the terms without a variable are on the right side. And we simplify after each step. Negative 282s plus 5s would be negative 277s. Negative 277s. Equals, and then over here, negative 77 minus 200 is negative 277. So I'm hoping it's obvious that s is 1. But let's finish it off, right? I'm going to get s alone now by dividing both sides by negative 277. And, we have now s on the left, 1s equals, and then any number divided by itself is positive 1. And there you go. And then don't forget to check your solutions if you have time, or if you're really worried about getting things right or not. Plug 1 in for s back in the original equation, right? So before I multiply by 100, back in the way the equation originally looked. And you'd have negative 2.82 times 1, which is negative 2.82, plus 2 would be negative 0.82. So you have negative 82 hundredths on the left. And then over on the right side, negative 0.05 times 1 would be negative 0.05, minus 0.77 would also be negative 0.82. You'd have negative 0.82 on both sides, so this is a valid solution. And so, again, if you're really worried about things being correct, check your solutions. Go back to the original equation, plug in the value, see if it makes it a true statement. Alright, so I'm getting s equals 1 here. But that's what they meant by clearing decimals. So you multiply on both sides by some power of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, whatever, to make sure that all the decimal points move enough so that you don't have decimals anymore, right? You get to the end of every number, or add some zeros onto some numbers, like 2 times 100, you added some zeros, right? You made 200. and then you solve the equation like usual, like in previous sections 2.1 through 2.4. Right, and after you submit every answer, right, you're going to be told if you're right or wrong, and you're also going to be given an answer explanation. Please read through the answer explanations just to make sure you understand why you were correct or incorrect, and hopefully you can learn from your mistakes for future questions. All right, next question. All right, so we're switching to the other one. Now it's the same thing. Right, it really is. Solve an equation involving decimals with variables on both sides. So this one also has a set of parentheses here. Right. So let's just write it out and get to it. Alright, so here we have on the left side 9.24 times the quantity 0.7 times A plus 1.7 equals, and then 9.39 times A, and then plus 33.24. Now this one's probably a little trickier because of the set of parentheses here. I'm going to be distributing first. All right, I'm going to be distributing first. Just like with the fractions, right? If you recall section 2.5 part 1, this is just a personal preference of mine because I feel like it makes it easier for people to understand what to multiply by after to clear the decimals. I'm going to distribute first. Right? I'm going to distribute first and then clear decimals. Get rid of parentheses before I get rid of decimals. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying there. Okay, so 9.24 times 0.7, well, that's 924 times 7, but that's 924 hundredths times 7 tenths. So off to the side, I'll do 924 times 7. 7 times 900 is 6,300. 7 times 20 is 140. 7 times 4 is 28, and then you add these up. So that'd be 6,468. But then, divided by 1,000, right? This is hundredths, this is tenths, so I'd be dividing by 1,000. That moves the decimal place to the left 3. This is 6.468 times A. That's 9.24 times 0.7, 6.468. Plus, and then 924 times 17, well, that would be 9,240. Right? I'm doing 924 times 17, but then divided by 1,000, right? Because there's hundredths here, tenths here. That would be thousandths in the denominator. Well, 924 times 10 is 9,240, and then 924 times 7, which we just saw, was 6,468, and then we'd add these up. 0, 1, and then 3, 7, and then 15. And then divide this by 1,000, that's 15.708. Okay. Equals, and then the other side had no parentheses or anything, so 9.39a plus 33.24. Now if I'm not there to stop you. If you have a calculator and you don't want to do all the multiplying and adding and stuff by hand, use a calculator. Again, I'm not there to stop you from doing that. Just so long as you know the steps that are being followed here to solve this equation. Alright, so now that I've cleared the parentheses first, alright, the distributive property has been performed. Now I will clear the decimals. Now do you see these first two numbers? You need to move the decimal place to the right 3 places. 3 places to get rid of them. Here it's only 2 and 2, but 3 is the highest number. So I need to multiply both sides by 1 with 3 zeros, or 1,000, 10 to the third power. So I'm multiplying this side, both sides by 1,000. I'm multiplying everything by 1,000. And that's just going to move the decimal point to the right 3 places on all of these. And then all the decimals will be gone. So the first term over here, you have 6,468 times A plus, and then here move the decimal place to, multiply by 1,000. That'd be 15,708 equals, and over here, now if I move this to the right 3 places, you'd have to add a 0. All right, that's 9,390 times A. And then same thing here, if I moved it, multiply by 1,000, move the decimal place to the right 3 places, I'd have a 0 at the end. So plus 33,240. Okay, now let's move some stuff around. Now I know I usually take the variable to the left, but I don't know, this time I feel like taking it to the right because the coefficient on the right's bigger. So I'm going to subtract 6,468A from both sides. And then subtract the 33,240 from both sides. And we get the following. Now the coefficient of A on the right, there's some borrowing here. So 2 minus 6 is 2, 3, 4, I can't do that. Borrow. 13 minus 4 is 9, 8 minus 6 is 2, so that's 2,922A. And then, same thing here, we have 33,240 is the bigger number. And I'm going to subtract 15,708, and then this is just the opposite of that, right? Again, sorry about the delay here. Again, if you have a calculator, please go ahead and use it. Just bear with me here. So that's negative 17,532, and then we would divide by 2,922. So this would be negative 17,532 divided by 2,922. I know this reduces. All right, you know what? I'm gonna bring up a calculator. This is getting out of hand here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the Desmos website. This is a desmos.com. It's a free online graphing calculator. Take negative, you can do some calculations off to the side. 17,532 divided by 2,922, and that's just negative 6. I had a feeling it would be a whole number, an integer. So great, that's negative 6. How nice of them to give us a nice integer value. So yeah, so the value here is negative 6, and again, don't forget to check it. Go back to the original equation, replace A with negative 6 on both sides, see if it's true. It should be if I did everything correctly. And let's go back to the assignment and enter, A equals negative 6. Wonderful. Yeah, see, and even they're doing the same thing that I suggest, clear parentheses first before you clear decimals. And they didn't even clear the decimals. I mean, you don't have to clear decimals. I mean, you can read what they have here, but I don't know, people very often just don't like working with decimals or fractions, so it doesn't hurt to clear them first. Alright, so this time I'm just going to use a calculator throughout, just because that was a kind of a pain last time, writing all the junk. So again, I'll write this equation out, and I'll just use a calculator as we go. And in fact, you don't have to clear the decimals, right? I'll show you. You don't have to clear the decimals if you don't want to. Yeah, but I will. I will. Why not? why not? It doesn't hurt to do it every time. It'll work every time. So we have 2.1 times, and then the quantity 16y minus 10.3 equals 18.42 times y minus 36.81. Alright, so first I'm going to clear the parentheses here, distribute. Now I'm just doing this in a calculator in my hand off to the side. 2.1 times 16 is 33.6 times y, and then 2.1 times 10.3, we have minus 21.63. Okay, equals 18.42y minus 36.81. And then again, if you want to if you want to clear the decimals, if you like doing that, I'd have to multiply by 10 here, but then 100 here, 100 here, 100 here. So the biggest of those is 100. So I need to multiply everything by 100. Right, multiply both sides by 100. That just moves the decimal point to the right 2 places. So that's 3,360y minus 2,163 equals 1,842y minus 3,681. Alright, and then I'm subtracting, so let's see, if I subtract this 1842y, 3,360 minus 1842, this is 1,518 times y equals, and then I would add the 2,163. So it's negative 3,681 plus 2,163. 2163. So that'd be negative 1,518. Well, this is great. This is easy to see. I'm hoping you see that y equals negative 1. All right, if I divide something by its opposite, I get negative 1. All right, again, don't forget to check that back in the original equation if you want. I'll leave that to you, though. Great. All right, next. All right, so now the calculator won't be as necessary here. These numbers aren't as large. So again, I'm going to write this out. And we'll do it. And I will clear decimals. I'll just clear decimals every time. Just, why not? So we have negative 0.2 times, just 1n minus 8 equals 1.31n plus 4.62. I'll clear the parentheses first. Now this is simply negative 0.2n, and then plus, this is 2 tenths, times 8. That'd be 16 tenths, 1.6. Equals, and then 1.31n plus 4.62. And again, the numbers you'd have to multiply by to clear the decimals would be 10, 10, 100, 100. The largest of those is 100. So again, I need to multiply both sides by 100 again here. Right? Everything by 100. Everything gets a decimal point moved to the right twice. This would be negative 20n plus 160 equals 131n plus 462, right after multiplying by 100. Alright, so if I add 20n, that's going to give me 151n on the right. And if I subtract 462, that'll be negative 302 on the left. And so n equals negative 2. Alright, negative 302 divided by 151 would be negative 2. Great. Right, so yeah, that one wasn't so bad. Didn't need a calculator for that. I mean, you don't really need a calculator. It's just sometimes the calculations are a bit daunting, and it would take a while to do by hand. And I'm making a video here. I don't want it to be too ridiculously long. Right. Okay. Alright, so now this one I'm going to be using calculator here. Alright, I'm going to use the calculator, but I will again write out the equation. And I've just got a calculator in my hand off to the side. You can't see it, but you can go to that Desmos website or have your phone calculator, whatever. Again, I'm not there to stop you. Alright, so as long as you're following, as long as all I care about is that you know the steps, how do you just know how to solve an equation. That's the key takeaway from this particular section. So 1.68 times the quantity 1.18 n plus 17.2 equals negative 0.2 n minus 3.84. Alright, so if I distribute this 1.68 times 1.18, that's 1.9824 times n plus 1.68 times 17.2 is 28.896. Okay. And then the other side I didn't do anything with, right? But I have cleared the parentheses using the distributive property. Now, 4 places, 3 places, 1 place, 2 place. The largest I would have to move the decimal place to get rid of them is 4 places. So I have to multiply by 10,000 here. You got to multiply everything by a 1 with 4 zeros after it, right? I have to multiply everything by 10,000 to move the decimal points 4 places to the right. So that makes this 19,824 n plus, and then if I move this 4 to the right, I have to add a 0 on the end. That's 288,960 equals, and then moving this 4 places to the right, you have 3 zeros after. That'd be negative 2,000 n. And moving this 4 places gives me 2 zeros on the end, minus 38400, 38,400. Okay, now if I add 2,000 n, that's going to be 21,824 n equals, and then subtract this 288,960. Let's see. Again, I don't feel like writing this out. 38,400 together with 288,960. So subtracting this gives me negative 327,360. And then I'm dividing by 21,000. 327,360. Dividing by 21,824 is 15. N equals, but this is negative 15 actually, because it'd be a negative divided by a positive. Alright, so the solution here is negative 15 for n. Great. Alright, so again, this is a lot of work, but it is the same work every single time. Alright, so here's one where I can just simply multiply by 100 on both sides. I hope you see that, right, to clear the decimals. So I'm going to write this out. Left side, you have negative 16n minus 23.3 equals 16.99n minus 56.29. And I'll just say, the most number of places any decimal would have to move to get rid of them would be 2. So I have to times everything by 100. I have to multiply by 100 everything on both sides. Right? So this would be negative 1600 times n minus 2,330 equals 1,699 n minus 5,629. And then again, I'm just taking everything to one side, every variable. Now if I I'll just do this. I'll subtract the 1699, so that'd be negative 3299 n, and then add the 2300, and that would be 330, and that would be positive. Nope, negative 3,299, right? Negative 5,000 plus 2,000, negative 3,299. So I'm hoping you see that n equals positive 1, right? Dividing by anything by itself would be 1. So the solution to that equation is 1. Again, I'm doing the same steps every single time. Clear parentheses if necessary with the distributive property, clear decimals, multiplying by some power of 10, and then getting all the variables to one side, non-variables to the other side, then dividing. I mean, it's all the same stuff. It's just some of the numbers are annoying. That's all. All right, so I'll just write this one out, work through it by clearing decimals. So negative 1.52 times y minus 4 equals negative 2.27 times y minus 3.25. Right, so I'm hoping it's obvious that I need to multiply by 100 here to clear the decimals. 2 places, no places, 2 places, 2 places. So 10 to the second, 100. So times 100. I'll just write this. Times everything by 100. So negative 152y minus 400 equals negative 227y minus 325. And if I add the 227y, that's 75. 75y equals, and then if I add 400, that's 75 again over here. So y equals 1 again. Right? The solution is 1, dividing both sides by 75 there. 1. Great. And I should just have one more of these based on my progress. Alright, so again, I'll write it out. There are no parentheses to clear with the distributive property, so I'm just going to clear the decimals and solve. Alright, so 1.4y plus 4 equals negative 1.77y minus 2.34. And again, 1 place, no place, 2 places, 2 places. The largest of those is 2 places if I want to clear the decimals. So I need to multiply by 100 again. Multiply everything by 100. And that'll give me 140y plus 400 equals negative 177y minus 234. Alright, then I'll just add 177y. So that's 317y over here after adding 177, and then subtracting 400 gives me negative 634, and then dividing by 317 gives me negative 2. That's it. And again, if you want to check the solution, go back to this original equation here, plug in negative 2 for y and see if you get a true statement. And you should if you're doing everything correctly. Yeah, so you see I followed the same steps every single time there. And it was just like solving equations by clearing fractions as well. Right, you find clear parentheses first with the distributive property if necessary, and then you find what number do I need to multiply both sides by to get rid of the fractions or get rid of the decimals. And after you do that, your equation should have no more fractions, no more decimals, and then you solve it like normal. Get all the terms with the variable on one side, terms without the variable on the other, and then divide by some number at the end or multiply by some number at the end to get the variable alone. And of course, check your solutions if you have the time. Alright, so that's the end of this preview version of this assignment. Like I said at the top of the video, please understand that the questions I saw in this video may not be the same questions that you're going to see when you work on the assignment yourself. But, all the objectives are the same, the structure is the same. So I'm hoping that watching me do these here will help you in some way when you work on the assignment on your own. And thank you very much for watching.